Morning rock and metal fans, welcome to another edition of Iridium Rock and Metal Reviews. Today I'm going to be ranking another year, 1998. Not the best of years, not the worst. Pretty good ones in my favourites though. So without further ado, let's go. So I'm going to go, I've got five favourites from that year. There's a couple of honourable mentions. So we're going to go from number 5, which is my least favourite of my favourites, remember? So these are all good albums. So my number 5 is System of a Down. System of a Down is their self-titled debut album. So I really got into this band when they first appeared on the scene. Every time they brought out an album, I really liked it. But this only came at number 5 on my list because it hasn't had, which I've spoken about before on this channel, it hasn't had the staying power of a lot of other bands that I listen to. So it's not the first thing I put on in my car. You know, I've got it available to play, but it's not the first thing I'll play. But you know, they're still good. I think they need to make some more music. You know, I mean, I know it's been a while, and there's been some problems with the band. But, you know, this was a really strong album when it came out, and they brought something different to the new metal scene. Obviously, they were on that scene when new metal came out, and you had Korn and Deftones and your System of a Down and Limp Bizkit. And these brought something a bit different, really aggressive at times. Obviously, they were really experimental. Quite a bit of humour in their music and their lyrics, but obviously a political band as well. And some of my favourites on here, No, Suggestions, War, Darts was a good, strong song as well. So, I mean, they had better to come as well, but this was a decent album. And you can see why they're successful as well, because they brought, like I said, they brought something new to the genre, if you like. So, a pretty good album, and I'll give it 7 out of 10. Next one, number 4, Korn, Follow the Leader. So this was a huge hit for Korn. I think it might have been their biggest seller, and they hit big time with this. This was a great album as well. This is my favourite album by Korn. And I think there was a lot of variation again on this record. It had a bit of rap, some real heavy stuff as well. You know, they were a real mixture. There was quite a few collaborations on here as well. Some people from different bands coming on here, mix it up a bit. A little bit of hip hop influence, quite a bit more on this album. But it has its really heavy moments as well. And obviously, It's On was a brilliant track to open up the album. Freak on a Leash was the biggest hit I think they've ever had. That was a great video as well to go along with that. Got the Life, another single, good one, that one. Children of the Corn, that was a rap song, and All in the Family as well. So you can see it really mixed it up on here. And it was a good album by them. But this is another one, again, Korn are another band that haven't had the staying power. A lot of the bands in the new metal genre didn't do that for me, didn't stay around into this, didn't stick around for me to listen to. Now, you know, I've got it in the car, I play it, but it ain't something that I'll put on like other bands. But still, a strong album at the time, one of my favourites at the time. And I'll give Korn, Follow the Leader, 8 out of 10. Right, my number 3, Primal Fear, their debut album, Primal Fear. So, this is a great band. And it might be a bit not so well known to some people. They're proper metal. Singer's excellent. Guitaring's brilliant. What I can liken them to, if you want to try and, I don't mean compare, but obviously they take influence from some great bands. They sound a bit like Judas Priest, and Accept, that sort of full-on metal, proper metal. You know, no fucking around. Every song's heavy. They do occasionally slow their music down a little bit, you know, like not ballady as such, but to the epic sort of side of songs. Really good, really good. I really recommend this band. If you want no bullshit metal, this is the band to get into. And I was a bit of a latecomer to these. I don't think I heard this album when it first came out. I picked up Primal Fear's music later on, probably in the early 2000s, maybe a bit later than that. But this was a really good album, and it wasn't going to be their best either. They had a lot better to come. But some of the standout tracks on this are Chainbreaker, Tears of Rage, Battalions of Hate is a brilliant metal song. With Primal Fear, I prefer it when they slow things down a bit. Keep it heavy, but they slow it down. Not too keen on the faster songs, more the power metal type stuff. I prefer the true metal sort of songs. So really good though, really good debut album from those, and I'll give Primal Fear, self-titled album, 8 out of 10. Number 2, Iced Earth, Something This Way, Wicked This Way Comes. Sorry, Something Wicked This Way Comes. Now this was one of my favourite Iced Earth albums. By this time they really dug their heels into their sound. This got a bit of grief, saying it's a bit too heavy from their previous record, but no, I think this is really some really catchy stuff on here. Excellent songwriting by John Schaefer, and this started off his Something Wicked saga, which he continued over a few records, and it, you know, it makes of an interesting story as well. But there was some excellent songs on this. The opening track, Burning Times, is one of my favourite Iced Earth tracks. Melancholy, Watching Over Me, Prophecy. And this is another band, like I said, a bit like Primal Fear. If you like, you know, I'm sure most people have heard of this band. Of course they have. They're you know, they're not a small band. But sometimes you don't pick up everything in music. So if you want something heavy again, that's not fresh, but he's like veering proper metal, you know, no bullshit metal, Iced Earth will give you that. So I'll give Iced Earth, Something Wicked This Way Comes, 9 out of 10. Right, my number 1 for 1998 is Bruce Dickinson, The Chemical Wedding. I'm a massive Iron Maiden fan, and obviously this is with Adrian Smith back in, helping Bruce out like he did on the previous album. This is not a... It's a bit like a concept album, but it sort of takes inspiration from William Blake, who was a poet and writer. That's where Bruce Dickinson taken the inspiration from this album. And this is a brilliant album. I mean, this is probably the strongest Bruce Dickinson solo album, although he had one to come which was really strong as well. But yeah, again, this would slot straight in with some of the best Maiden albums. Track 1 to the last track, all filler, no filler, all killer songs. Idiot. Real strong from beginning to end. Some of the main tracks though I like: King of Crimson, Chemical Wedding, the title track. The Tower's excellent. Jerusalem is brilliant. But you know what I mean, I could name every single song and they're all good. Really strong from Bruce on this one. And a bit of a strange one. I was again, I don't know what happened to me in the late 90s and the 2000s, but I lost track of a lot of this great music that was coming out, and picked up on it later on. And Bruce Dickinson was one of those ones. Obviously I was into Maiden, but I never gave Bruce a real chance. I haven't got a clue why. I'm an idiot I suppose, but it just happens, doesn't it? I don't know, as I was growing up, and I left a lot of stuff behind and I shouldn't have done. So Bruce Dickinson, The Chemical Wedding, absolutely brilliant album. I'll give it 10 out of 10. Just a couple of honourable mentions. You got Iron Maiden's Virtual 11 album came out. Obviously Bruce weren't back in the band yet. I wasn't a fan of them two albums, that he wasn't. But you know, a lot of people are. And I prefer Virtual 11 than the other one, because it it did have a lot of, it sounded like it had a lot of elements of what's to come with Maiden later as well. So I think it was just the voice. It was just, I just couldn't, didn't seem like Iron Maiden to me. And I've tried to give it a go again and I just couldn't get into them. And I know it's a lot of people, one of their favourite Iron Maiden albums, but I get it, I really do, but just not for me. And also Jerry Cantrell's Boggy Depot came out, his solo album. Although it weren't a bad effort, it wasn't one of my favourite albums. Obviously he brought out a solo project a bit later on, Degradation Trip. That was a lot for me, was really improved on this one. But it wasn't bad, but not my favourite. So that's it for another year. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.